Hi everybody, what day is it? Dare Day! So welcome back to your Dare virtual lessons. This is so exciting. I'm glad that you're back. Thank you. We have so much to learn today. Welcome to lesson 2. Darren is here. He is still being his rock star self. And I'm glad that you guys are here. So welcome back. We're going to open up with a video. We're going to check in with Michael and see what is new with him. So I'm going to swing it over to the video. Here we go. Let's check in.
Hi, Michael again. Whoa! Hold on a second. Josh, will you please get your scooter out of here? Someone might step on it and fall. Okay, sorry. Boy, I wish Josh had been in last week's lesson about responsibility. Anyway, last week I promised you would meet the cutest member of my family. And here he is. No, Josh, not you. Last month, my mom surprised us with the cutest puppy in the world. His name's Bailey. He's a good boy and so much fun to play with. But having a puppy is hard work too. I'm responsible for playing with him, making sure he has fresh water, and giving him chow. Yesterday, after feeding him, Josh and I took him for a walk down the street. Bailey, what do you have there? Yuck.
Ooh, yuck indeed. I agree. So did you see anything in this video that you felt like was responsible behavior that we learned from last time? I saw a puppy. Puppies have some needs, don't they? What does a puppy need? If you said food, water, exercise, taking them for walks, that's exactly right. Puppies are kind of high maintenance when they're new. They have a lot of needs, right? And that's where you come in to fill those with all the responsibility that you learned from lesson 1 in Dare. And by the way, did you do that thing that I asked you to do about responsibility in your house? Did you get your mom and dad's attention in a positive way? I really hope so, because you deserve to have some recognition if you showed that amount of responsibility. So good for you if you did. If not, that's okay. You still have today to show them how responsible you can be, doing all your work, all your virtual stuff, and maybe doing a couple extra chores to let them know that I really am a responsible person. But at the very end of that video, you might have noticed with that cute little puppy, and puppies get into everything, don't they? If you've ever had a puppy in your life, you know that if you're on a walk with them, they eat mulch, they eat gravel, they eat shoes, paper, they dumpster dive in the kitchen trash. That's my dog's personal favorite. But they get into everything, and the whole world is new to them. So they kind of do this thing where they go sniff, sniff, and then they eat something because like, ooh, that smells awful. I wonder what it tastes like. And then they put it in their mouth, right? And it looks like that's what happened in this video here. So what he had though was a used cigarette. Sometimes people call that a cigarette butt because it's the end of a cigarette. But he had that in his mouth, and it's super gross for a number of reasons. But it's gross because it was in somebody's mouth at one point, yuck. And it has something inside of it called carcinogens and tar and all these chemicals. And it can be really dangerous if that dog were to ingest that. It can mean a vet visit for that puppy. So not good, but I'm really glad that he found that and had to do the jaws of life thing with the puppy. Have you ever had to do that? Where you're like, oh, give me that gross thing, and they won't spit it out. But I'm glad that he was responsible and got it away. So today we are going to be talking about 2 different drugs. Today we're going to be talking about alcohol, and we're going to talk about tobacco, all right, and the nicotine that's found inside of there. But I want to be very clear. When I talk about drugs throughout all of these lessons, I want to be very clear about a drug that you might be taking. If you're on a prescription medication from your doctor, please continue to take that medication. It's healthy for you, it's safe for you, it's what your parents want for you, it's what your doctor has determined that is safe for you and healthy for you. So please continue to take those medications. When I refer to drugs, I am not talking about the prescription medication or the over-the-counter ibuprofen or Tylenol that you might be taking. So please continue with that. I want you to be the healthiest and the best you that you can be. So please continue with that. But today, first, we're going to talk about alcohol. And alcohol is a drug. Although you might be thinking, well, it's not something you can hold in your hand. It actually is a drug. And we're going to talk about what a drug is and define that in a second. All right, so here we go. So I have some bullet points, some definitions that I want you to learn today. The first one is fact. And a fact is something that can be proven to be true. So we're not talking about opinion here at all right? These are facts. These are proven things that I'm going to show you in just a second. A health effect, though. A health effect is what happens as a result of using a drug. Have you ever had a headache? Yes, of course. We all have, right? So your mom or dad gives you that little syrupy cup of bubblegum deliciousness, or maybe you can take a pill now. You swallow that medicine or you take that pill, and the idea or the health effect of that drug is that your headache goes away. That's the idea, right? Sometimes it works better than other times, and maybe you have to take a second dose, but that's the health effect of using that drug. So a drug is any substance other than food that affects the way that your mind and your body work, okay? So there are prescription medications, there are legal drugs. There are prescription medications that people take illegally, which is unfortunate, but it does happen in this world. So first we're going to talk about alcohol, though. So alcohol is very commonly used across America, and we're going to learn some fun facts about that. But the alcohol that we're not talking about today is any kind of like rubbing alcohol that you might have in your medicine cabinet. Okay, that's not the alcohol that we're talking about today. Don't drink that stuff either. It's poison. You'll die. All right. But we're also not talking about any kind of alcohol that you would get in a religious ceremony. For example, communion. If you go to a church where they have wine as part of their communion, it is totally safe for you to have that. All right. Because if you notice, they come up with like this much wine when they present the gifts and this much water, and they water the wine down. So it's called diluted, meaning the amount or the sip that somebody would get from that glass is not harmful whatsoever to that person, or to you. So I just want to encourage you to continue with your family's beliefs. So please don't, after this video, be like, oh my gosh, with all of your drama self, Mom, I cannot go to church anymore. My dare officer told me that they serve alcohol there, and if I have that, I will die. Okay, no, that's not what I'm saying, all right? And nice try, you still have to go to church, all right? But so please continue to do those things that your family has determined as best practices for you. The alcohol that we are talking about today is any kind of wine, beer, rum, whiskey, tequila, vodka, moonshine, any kind of a mixed drink, cocktails or margaritas. So that is the alcohol that we're talking about today, all right? So what I want you to do, though, at this time, please go ahead and grab your book. You will need a pencil ready. And what day is it? Dare Day. Let's get started with that book. So please turn to pages 3 and 4 in your book. And go ahead and I have my flat flip, but you can tuck it in. So we're going to start on page number 3, where it says lesson 2. And you notice there's a lot of facts here in this column and health effects of alcohol use in this column. And we're going to go through these one at a time. But what I want you to do is before or after that sentence, I want you to put a check or a star. If the information that I just read was something that you already knew before you started watching this video, I want you to put a check. If it's something that's new to you, I want you to simply put a star before or after that sentence. It's important that you star or check these sentences because we're going to use this for journaling later, and you're going to need to know how to look back and find these stars and checks. You will have a lot of stars today. You will learn a lot of this information. I did not know some of this information before I started teaching the DARE program. So I had a lot of stars in my DARE book when I learned this at DARE school. So we're going to start with the first one, and I'll read these aloud. So we are on page 3. At the very top where it says, did you know? And it says facts about alcohol use. The first one says, alcohol is illegal for anyone under 21. So if you knew that, please put a check behind that or in front of that sentence. If you did not know that, you're going to put a star. The next one says, there are 75,000 alcohol-related deaths each year in the U.S. That is a large number. If you've ever been to a Cardinals baseball game, that stadium holds just over 50,000 people. So what I'm telling you is that this is 1.5 Busch stadiums filled with people that die every year from alcohol-related illness. So that is pretty huge. The next one, this is my favorite one. It says most teens don't drink alcohol. So wow, like most people thought that, yeah, most teens probably do drink alcohol, but it's in our facts column and it says that most teens don't drink alcohol. And it's just really nice to know that if you go to a teenage party one day, a high school party, and you see alcohol there, or somebody's extending their hand and they're offering you a beer or a mixed drink, and they're saying this thing that you hate to hear, that every fifth grader and most kids hate to hear. Come on, man, everybody's doing it. Everybody's doing it. Like, ugh, I hate hearing it when somebody says that. I have my own brain. I can think for myself. So when they say that everybody's doing it, we can say, no, actually, most teens don't drink alcohol. I learned that in fifth grade DARE. You fell asleep in Officer Julie's fifth grade DARE class, but I learned that and I remember that. And I don't have to do that. I want to be like most teens. I want to be on the side of teens that are not drinking, because that's what most teens are doing, not drinking. The next one says mixing alcohol with medicine is dangerous. So please keep up with your stars and checks. If you knew that, put a check. If it's new to you, put a star. Please read along with me with the last one in that column. It says teen bodies are still growing. Therefore, alcohol affects them more severely than adults. So what I'm telling you is that if somebody who's 40 starts drinking the same amount of alcohol that somebody is 15 years old, they drink the same amount of alcohol for a whole year, that will have a very much worse effect on the 15-year-old than the 40-year-old. Because the 15-year-old's body is still growing. More importantly, their mind is still growing. So it's gonna have a negative impact on both of those. And I want you guys to be as big and strong as you're entitled to be. So dumping a bunch of alcohol into your body prematurely is gonna be all bad. Okay, so please take a second, make sure you've got stars and checks on all of those, because we're gonna find our way into the next column. Same page, page 3, where it says health effects of alcohol use. So we're gonna get started. We're gonna keep up with our stars and checks. So if you knew it, put a check. If it's new to you, put a star. Alcohol slows down the brain and the body. The effects may include loss of coordination, poor judgment, memory loss, loss of self-control, and slow reflexes. So please star and check all of those. But when they talk about coordination, loss of coordination, if you play soccer, you can have your soccer ball in a line of cones, and you can be in and out and in and out and in and out of those cones and back in and out and in and out of those cones. You're coordinated, right? You don't have to, you're not stumbling or falling. But to the drunk person who's trying to leave a bar, you know, they've kind of got this thing going on, right? They've lost their coordination. They're stumbling and falling. They're not coordinated. Should that person be driving home? No way. They're gonna kill themselves or somebody else. When we talk about poor judgment and memory loss, you guys know what those are. Loss of self-control can show up in a number of different ways. Loss of self-control can show up in a very sad way with uncontrollable crying and sadness. Loss of self-control can show up very violent with yelling, screaming, hurting, punching, violence. And a funny story, loss of self-control showed up one day when I arrested somebody for drunk driving. He had lost his self-control all over the front of his pants because he didn't even realize that he had gone to the bathroom. So he had lost his self-control in a different way. So how unfortunate and how sad for that individual that didn't even know that. I had to tell him he had done that. And then slow reflexes. So let's say that a deer comes out as somebody's driving, and let's say they're sober. Ding, 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 here comes the deer. Whew, that was close. I almost hit that deer. And if you know anything about deer, where there's one deer, there's 3 or 4 more deer behind them, so you gotta be careful. And then let's say the flip side of that, the drunk driver who decided to make a very poor choice and get into a car and drive home, he's driving home and he's driving along, and then boom, didn't even see the deer because of those slow reflexes. And it's just really, really unfortunate that that person would make that choice to drive a car because they don't even understand how slow the reflexes are. So we're gonna continue with our stars and checks with the next one. Alcohol weakens the heart muscle and reduces the amount of blood pumped to and from the heart. That seems important. If I don't have the right amount of blood pumping to my heart, wow, okay. Next one, too much alcohol can slow down the body and lead to coma and death. Death. Did you catch the Trolls reference? All right, I'm glad. But that's huge, right? That is incredible. Coma, death. Wow, you've got my attention, Officer Julie. Okay, alcohol goes directly into the bloodstream and can damage every organ of your body. Are our organs important? Yeah, of course they are, right? They're vital to living. Our organs are everything that keeps us alive and functioning the way that we need to. At the bottom of that page, you guys see that there are some fill in the blanks. I want you to take a second and go ahead and fill out those 6 fill in the blanks for me. Under number 6, it says two health effects of alcohol. You can just list any 2 from the health effects column that you like. Okay, that should have given you enough time to fill out those 6 little questions at the end, at the bottom of page 3, because we're going to move on and we're going to start talking about a different drug. We're going to start talking about tobacco. So tobacco is commonly sold and unfortunately commonly used across America. Today's tobacco, it was originated way back with Indians. They would smoke tobacco in a peace pipe as a way of saying that these 2 tribes are going to be peaceful with one another now, or these 2 Indians are going to be peaceful with one another now. And they would show that peace through smoking tobacco in a very long, large peace pipe. You've probably heard of that. But today's tobacco can be found in cigarettes. You guys all have seen a cigarette. You know what a cigarette is. Cigars, chewing tobacco, and tobacco used in smoking pipes, which are shaped differently today. You guys all know what a cigarette is, but a cigar is on average the size of a dry erase marker. They do come bigger, they come skinnier, they come smaller, but on average, a cigar is the size of a dry erase marker. The thing about this is it's filled with tobacco. It doesn't have a filter on it, so it's different from a cigarette in that way. It has a lot more tobacco in it than a typical cigarette would. Then there's chewing tobacco. Chewing tobacco is sold in a can or a pouch, and how they use that tobacco is they add a little bit more of that humidity back into it, so it has like a dewy kind of feel to it, and it is dyed black. They have added flavor to it, like spearmint or wintergreen or something like that. And then they can buy it at any gas station if you're 18, and we're going to talk about that in a second. I'm sorry, 21 now. But they'll take a pinch out of that can or that pouch. They open up their lip. They put it inside between their lip and their gum, and then they have this kind of thing going on, right? Okay? And you can see this little bump, and they talk a little silly, and they might look a little different, a little silly. But anyway, what happens is that tobacco, if you've ever brushed your teeth a little too hard, you notice that your gums might bleed. We've all done that, right? But you have a bloodline here and you have a bloodline here under your gums. And what happens is that tobacco slowly seeps into your gums and into that bloodline, and it sends a message to your brain saying, okay, we have our nicotine. I won't bother you for a little while until we don't have our nicotine again. Then I'm going to give you all kinds of signs to let you know that it's time for our nicotine again, because that person's addicted to that. So what happens though, the gross thing that happens with chewing tobacco, and there's not a chewing process that happens, it just sits there. I know it's kind of a weird thing, but it slowly dissolves and it mixes with the saliva in their mouth, and they have to carry around a spit cup. And a spit cup is exactly what you think it is. It is a cup filled with spit. And they have to go and spit this black, gooey, nasty stuff into a cup. And it is disgusting. It is one of the worst habits that somebody could probably have. So did we talk about all of them? We did. So those are the 4 kinds of tobacco ways that somebody could get that into their system nowadays. So I brought some show and tell because I really want you guys to see some of the harmful effects of some of this stuff. And it's pretty fascinating to see. So if somebody smoked cigarettes and they smoked only a half a pack of cigarettes every day for a year, they're going to have this tar and these carcinogens and this stuff that's inside of their body because they're inhaling it into their lungs. And they have a hard time getting rid of it. Sometimes, a lot of times you'll hear them cough because your body's natural reaction to having tar and carcinogens inside of them is to cough it up, get it out. But if you smoked only half a pack of cigarettes every day for a year, this is the amount and the sludgy kind of nasty stuff that would be inside somebody's body. So this is some pretty gross stuff here. And again, this is inside somebody's lung, right? Or their lungs, okay? So if I had this, this would be here in my lung and here in my lung. This is where your lungs are. They're underneath your rib cage. You can kind of feel like your ribs kind of go, your rib cages go like this to protect your lungs. But if this stuff is in my lungs, my body's natural reaction is to cough, 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 cough that stuff up, all right? Because it's not supposed to be in there. But I'm not going to be able to cough all this stuff up, which is really unfortunate because, you know, then you're left with this sludgy, nasty, gooey, gross stuff. And if you're an athlete, well, how's your game? Not good, right? This stuff is in your lungs, right? You're not going to be able to have fresh, clean air inside of your lungs at full capacity because this is occupying space. So if somebody's a long-term smoker, they often get something called COPD. COPD is an awful, just wrenching disease that somebody could get. It's a chronic illness, and they don't have the ability to cough like you or I can. We can go like this, and it's not an issue, right? But for somebody with COPD, they say it feels like an elephant is sitting on their chest. So they can't get that that you and I can. Their breaths are shallow and very, very, very labored, meaning it could sound like this. And that's just their regular breathing because this stuff is inside their lungs, taking up 20 years, 30 years worth of space. It's awful. So when somebody has COPD and they can't get that stuff out because they can't cough, they're going to have to go to a specialist. And I have a friend that works in the nursing community that works just with people like this that have to go and get their lungs drained and get all that stuff out. And she has a patient that has to come in every 2 weeks, many patients that have to come in that often, that frequently, and get their lungs drained. So this is just an example, all right? I did not follow somebody around and ask them to hack into this container, okay? This is just an example. I don't mean to gross you out, but this is gross for a reason. This is a simulation of the amount of yucky stuff that somebody would have inside their body that would need to be drained out. Guys, this is 2 weeks worth. 2 weeks of this boogery, nasty looking phlegm. So on the front of this, it says, this jar contains the amount of phlegm a smoker with COPD would cough up in about 2 weeks. So gross. That is absolutely disgusting, this boogery, nasty stuff. But how sad for them too, right? I mean, they can't breathe because that's inside of them, taking up space. And I also want to talk to you guys about something that I know you've heard of that drives me crazy. But I want to talk about vaping for a second. So vaping, a lot of people say, well, I'm trying to quit smoking and I turn to vaping. Well, I wish people would just turn to their doctor for some really good advice about how to quit smoking instead of vaping, because vaping has some really not so good effects. And I'll put up my show and tells here. These are just different vape tools that people use or have used. I'll hold these up here. But the thing with vaping is that if you think of the word vape, I really want you to think of the word that is part of that, or what it's short for, and that's vapor. Okay, so vapor, I think water, right? There's water and vapor. So if I'm using these vape tools instead of smoking and I'm putting water into my lungs, well, I know I am not a fish. I am a human. So that is not going to work out well for me at all, because if I have water in my lungs, I can't get that out, and that's taking up space. And people are like, oh, well, okay, I don't put the nicotine inside of my vial. I don't use this. These are Juuls. You guys have all heard of Juuls. I don't put nicotine in here, so it's safe for me. Wait, what? You're putting water into your lungs, but that's not safe for you. And they're like, well, I just like the flavors that they have. Okay, wait. So you want to smoke a watermelon Jolly Rancher? Wait, what? Go eat a watermelon Jolly Rancher. Like they're great. I love those candies. Like go enjoy a Jolly Rancher for yourself. You don't have to put water into your lungs to enjoy that. or strawberry muffin or blueberries. It's funny when we go to police calls for like fights in bars and people are outside vaping and you have to walk past this plume or this cloud of smoke and it smells like strawberry muffins in front of a bunch of hard guys. This is really comical for us. But you know, I tell people, I'm like, well, you really need to stop doing this because people have died from vaping. They've had too much water in their lungs. It causes pneumonia, it causes bronchitis, and it's not healthy. I mean, young people are passing away from using some of this stuff. And I tell people, I'm like, that try to, you know, talk to me about vaping and try to tell me that it's actually not that bad when it really is. And I share with them, like, okay, well, if you like having water in your lungs, well then, why don't you dive down to the bottom of a pool and take a big deep breath? And they're like, what? I'm like, yeah, well, why do you not do that? They're like, well, that's stupid. I'm like, oh, okay, so having water in your lungs from a pool is stupid, but having water in your lungs that you purposely put there from vaping is okay. And that's when the light bulb turns on and they kind of see the point that I'm trying to make there, that it's not healthy for their body. So if you know somebody in your life that is a smoker, you know, I want to encourage you to, if they're trying to quit, love them through that, help them, be supportive of them, because you know what? It is a very, very, we're going to talk about nicotine, but it's a very powerfully addictive substance. And they're going to need your support. They're going to need your love. Don't hide their cigarettes. Don't break their cigarettes. They're just going to go out and buy more, and you're going to get in trouble. Just give them some friendly reminders about your love for them and how you want them to be healthy. And I'm going to give you some ideas here in a second about some stuff that you can share with them, because chances are they didn't have the DARE program. And every single smoker knows that smoking is bad for them. They know that, all right? But what they might not know is exactly what's happening to their body. And that's what we're going to talk about. So I want you to be on page 4 with that pencil ready to go, because we're going to do that same star and check system. So again, if this is information that you knew, I'll back it up here and keep this up here on our slideshow for you. Again, if it was something that you knew, I want you to put a check. If it's something that's new to you, put a star. So here we go with tobacco use. Stars and checks, pencils ready. Here we go. In the United States, it is illegal to sell tobacco products to anyone under the age of, it says 18, but I'm super happy to let you know to cross out 18 because now it is 21. And I'm really excited to share that with you. The next one down says, this is insane, wait till you hear this. There are more than 200 known harmful chemicals in cigarette smoke. 200 known harmful chemicals. That's an incredible amount. When I learned that in DARE class, I was thinking, man, like, what do I have with so many chemicals in my house? And I went home finally after my 2-week school, and I pulled out my Lysol kitchen cleaner, and I thought, I wonder how many chemicals are in there. I turned it over, and at the time, 6 years ago, there was 37 chemicals in there that made up my Lysol kitchen cleaner, which I love. But I thought, 37. Now, there is no way it would be dangerous. It is poisonous. If I were to ever take a sip out of that bottle, that would be stupid, right? Okay. Don't do it. It's dangerous. It's poisonous. It's harmful. You will die. But here's the idea. There are over 200 known harmful chemicals in cigarette smoke. So if you wouldn't do this, why would you do this, right? Because this is only 37. If you would never do that, why would you want to do 200? Like, that's crazy. All right, next one. Put a star or a check there. Cigarettes contain nicotine, a powerfully addictive substance. Smoking is the leading preventable cause of death in this country. So if everybody stopped smoking today, the #1 cause of preventable death would disappear. Fascinating. Here we go. These are some huge numbers, you guys. More than 400,000 Americans die every year from tobacco-related illness. 400,000. Guys, that is 8 Busch stadiums. 8 Busch stadiums filled with people every year. And that's just in America. Next one down. Almost 50,000 deaths per year can be attributed to secondhand smoke. So what's secondhand smoke? Well, if I were a smoker, and I am not, but if I were a smoker and I was blowing my secondhand smoke all out on my friends and Darren and people around me, I would be getting that smoke first. They would be getting it second, right? So if you're so when I tell you guys, as you grow older and you grow into a teenager, please choose your friends wisely. Please choose your friends wisely, because the title of your book is Keeping It Real. And I keep it real with you guys, but I'm going to ask you a question that you don't have to answer, but I want you to think about this. If you choose to hang around smokers, could you be one of these people that we just read about? Yep. Let's go to the top of the next column where it says health effects of tobacco use. Let's keep up with our stars and checks, please, friends. It says, nicotine in cigarettes and chewing tobacco reduces the amount of blood that flows to the brain. This interferes with the way the brain works. Next one, smoking causes heart disease. Smokers have more colds and upper respiratory problems. Smoking causes lung cancer. You guys have all seen those commercials. Yuck. Chewing tobacco can cause mouth cancer, tooth loss, and other health problems. Smoking can yellow your teeth and cause bad breath, dry your skin, and cause wrinkles. So there are some more fill in the blanks below. I want to make sure that you guys get those on the tobacco side. So take a second, please, and answer some of those. And I will have the fill in the blanks here for you. Here's the ones for alcohol if you didn't get one of those. Here they are for alcohol if you missed one of those. And then here they all are for tobacco. When you're done with that, please turn one page. Turn one page and flip your flap. So you should be on pages 5 and 6 with your flap flipped. Basically, what I want you to understand about this diagram on page 5 is that every one of these lines that's pointing to something in this body has a negative impact by either alcohol and or tobacco. So we're talking about your brain, your heart, your lungs, your liver, all these important things on here. So just take a second and look at this and have an idea as to the negative impact that's caused from alcohol and or tobacco. There's some vital organs there and some pretty important stuff. All right, at this time, what I want you guys to do is you're going to read I'll read it to you, situation number 1. It says, Michelle is waiting for a ride home and notices some of her older sister's friends smoking cigarettes. They ask her to smoke with them. So we're going to define the problem here. Do you guys agree with me that the problem is that Michelle is hanging around smokers? Good. I want you to write that down. Under define, Michelle is hanging around smokers. And then I want you to answer the next 2 questions on your own. Well, how do you know that's a problem? Well, secondhand smoke. Why is it important? Well, why is it important to not hang around a smoker? So you're healthy, right? And then go on to number 2. And I want you to define the problem in number 2 and answer those questions. Read number 3 and answer those questions. When you're through with that, we'll have an opportunity to do some glossary and some journaling. In your glossary, I want you to turn to page 37. So unflip your flap. The fastest way to get to page 37 is close your book, look at the back of your book, and turn back 1 page, and you'll be on your glossary. We have 3 words of the day. So this should be number 3, 4, and 5 in your book. And here they are up on the board. Number 3 is drug. Number 4 is fact. And number 5 is health effect. I'll give you a second to write those down. When you're done, please go to your journaling on page 31. And on page 31, it starts you out with some sentence starters again. They want you to finish these sentence starters. So it says 3 health effects I did not know. So what you need to do is put your finger there on your glossary, on your journaling, and go flip back to pages 3 and 4 and look for some of those stars, because that's the stuff that you didn't know before I taught you this lesson. From the health effects column, it could be from alcohol or tobacco. So I simply want you to write down any 3 health effects that you didn't know about either alcohol or tobacco. So a total of 3. You could use 2 alcohol, 1 tobacco, or whatever you want. And then the next part of your journaling says, in the coming week, 2 important facts I will share with someone are. So then I want you to go into the facts columns here and here. and I want you to pull 2 facts. It says I'm going to share those in the next week, but tonight at dinner, I want you to share these 2 not so fun facts, as I jokingly call them, with whoever you eat dinner with. So if you're telling them that 50,000 people die from secondhand smoke, that's a not so fun fact you could share tonight. But whatever 2 you pick, I want you to write them down, and as you're writing them, please memorize them, because tonight at dinner, I want you to share those, okay? So I have a quick video for you, and then that's going to conclude this lesson. So let me load this video for you, and we'll get started and see what Josh has to say, Michael's brother.
Really, I am the cutest one in the family. See you next week, and I'll tell you something I bet you didn't know about Michael. He doesn't always make the best decisions.
Ooh, teaser. I like it. I love a good teaser. So I will see you guys next time. Thank you so much. I hope you learned a lot today. I will see you in a week. In the meantime, be safe and be responsible.